make use of. Let's go further. Now, Durkheim, another important subunit, which is social facts. Two questions. What are the problems in observing social facts in Durkheim's views? And secondly, if social fact is to be treated as a thing. Now, this is an older question. The practice so far has been that we simply look at from questions 2013 onwards, but this was asked in 2012, so I thought maybe we can just quickly use it. Otherwise, we would have been left with only one. So two questions, and in general, so whenever we are talking about social fact, please remember Durkheim speaks about or writes about social fact extensively in his absolute classic Rules of Sociological Method that came out in 1895. So we have to keep this in mind. The very important introduction material. The other thing that is also important is that Durkheim seeks recourse to the idea of social fact, or he talks about social fact also because he wants to make a distinction between sociology and psychology and sociology and philosophy. He wants sociology to do away with philosophizing. He wants sociology to do away with psychological explanations. So in that regard, he tries to figure out a distinct subject matter for sociology, and it is here that he invokes the idea of, or he brings to the fore the idea of social fact, because according to him, the distinct subject matter of sociology is social fact, and it is social fact that distinguishes sociology from psychology, and it is social fact, the studying of social fact, right? The observing of social fact that distinguishes sociology from philosophy. So it's very critical in separating sociology from psychology and philosophy. So this is something that you must keep in mind every time you're thinking about social fact. Anything from this particular, whatever information I just shared, can do very well for the introduction paragraph. And it is here that he talks about, and remember, fact, very positivistic, right? Why is he saying social fact? Meaning something that is out there, that is independent of our discretion. It is, as he very well points out, it's exterior, it's independent of our will, and it is constraining, meaning it has a certain effect on us. So, and then he points out social facts are to be treated as things, or social fact is to be treated as a thing. So that's the second one. Now, this is, why is he pointing it out? This means, what Durkheim is trying to point out is, it means that we must study social facts by acquiring data from outside. Thing is something that outside. So when he says social facts are to be studied as things, the first argument is they must be studied empirically, right? Which essentially means that whenever we are trying to study social facts, we must begin with acquiring necessary, relevant data. So that's stage one. And this data needs to be from outside of our minds, because if the data is from inside of our minds, then we are basically once again going back to a psychological study. So remember, in Rules of Sociological Method, Durkheim points out that every time a sociologist is going to embark upon studying a social fact, the first thing that the sociologist must do is completely do away with all preconceived notions, must discard all presuppositions, must do away with all kinds of, whatever commonsensical ideas he or she has. So basically, experimentation, observation, and the data has to be always gathered from the outside. The data is not to be culled out from the inside. So if you're following data from you're studying religion and you're working with your own understanding of religion according to Durkheim, that's of no use. That's a completely useless exercise. So you study religion. Religion is a social fact. It's out there. It's a thing you are observing. And on the basis of the observation, on the basis of your analysis, there's a certain data source that you have, and you better make good use of it. So social fact, the definition, as he points out, it's every way of acting which is fixed or not, capable of exercising on the individual and external constraint, or again, every way of acting which is general throughout a given society. So this is how he defines social fact. And then, of course, there is a distinction that he makes between social fact and individual fact, and I have already drawn your attention to that. Other than that, he also points, so these are, and the characteristics of social facts is they are general throughout the society, but they are diffused within the group. The social facts are external to individuals. They exist independent of, or they exist independently of individual will, and they constitute the objective structure of the society in the form of rules, practices, norms, etc. And they exercise external constraint over individuals, which is recognized by the power of external coercion. So they are always coercive. They exercise a certain force, and there is a certain sanction that they bring along. So these are some of the pointers that might be very, very important. And Durkheim is absolutely particular that social facts must be considered as things. And he is once again insisting every time you consider social fact as a thing, what you are underlining is the primacy of observation. That without observation, you cannot really study social facts. Without observation, whatever data you have for social facts is good for nothing, according to Durkheim. So social facts are to be treated as if they were material things out there, to be observed, and they are not ideas. Remember, ideas are not things. So religion, according to Durkheim, is not to be considered as an idea. Religion actually is like a material thing that is out there, needs to be empirically observed, and on the basis of that observation, a certain data is to be generated. So social facts are to be observed. And if they are to be observed, they must be considered as distinct. So you should not confuse social facts with individual facts, or social facts with psychological facts, etc. So that's your social facts. Now, in that context, you can always also, there is an expected question, again, a short note on collective representations. I think this is something that we can always, keep an eye, we can always attend to collective representations. And then types of social facts is also material social fact, non-material social fact. So do give it a thought as you prepare, as you revise your thinkers. Other than that, I really don't think there is much. The criticisms of social fact is something that I'm sure you're working on, because there are various ways in which social facts have been criticized. For example, there are scholars like Latour who point out that we are done with the age of society. We are now living in the age of networks, and in an age of networks, social facts do not really matter as much as day-to-day fluid realizations do. Then Durkheim also, when he talks about social facts, he does not really look into the influence of natural environments on the development of societies. He also does not really bring in the role of human emotions, and emotions play a very important role when it comes to things like religion, when it comes to things like suicide, for example. And then Durkheim also fails very much to help us understand, or he fails in arguing or informing us why a social fact does not affect all individuals the same way. For example, religion. Why is it that religion, despite being a social fact, all of us are not affected by religion the same way? What are the reasons for that? And so on.